Hey everyone, Richard Metalfan here. Um, we're gonna bring you guys like my first video of 2016. Yeah, I haven't made a video done this in a long time. I decided to do a band discography review. Um, yeah, it's been quite some time since I last done one, and I just decided why not? And I'm actually gonna see this band next month, and I'm really looking forward to this. And I decided why not to review their discography leading up to their new album, which I reviewed back in last July. And that is, of course, we're going to be looking into the band Cradle of Filth, and we're going to be looking into their first release, The Principle of Evil Made Flesh. Now, let's give a little bit of backstory for Cradle of Filth for those of you who don't know. They're a extreme metal band that formed in 1991 in Suffolk, England. Um, yeah, these guys have been around for a little over 25 years or so. They've went through so many different lineup changes, and basically the only original member left in this band since their inception was Danny Filth. Now, Cradle of Filth, like musically, they're kind of lumped into like a few other genres. Like mainly, they would be classified as like either they're black metal, like or gothic metal or extreme metal, like all those three genres kind of like combined in one. I mean, they throughout their career they basically changed up all their sound, but this album, The Prince of Evil Made Flesh, it's kind of the similar like extreme metal, but also has a lot of the black metal type feel vibe to it, and like lyrically, what makes Cradle of Filth stand out from like a lot of the black metal bands or extreme metal bands, like mainly the lyrical side, where some of the songs are like about Satan and hell, like all the other their typical black metal band bands. It's around the early mid '90s. These do, but they also include a little bit of the mentions of different like mythological and occult themes to it, which kind of makes them stand out. And for me that kind of makes pretty interesting. Instead of being like sounding like every single black metal band ever being evil, which I don't think Cradle of Filth are honestly. Which honestly that makes them stand out, which is pretty neat. And this band, Cradle of Filth, for me was one of my favorite bands. I mean, it took me a little while to get into this band. I didn't really start getting into them. Like I've vaguely heard of them back in like when I was in like high school or so, but it didn't really take me until like a few years after that. But yeah, and I decided to listen to their whole discography and their settings, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, they easily became one of my favorite bands. And of course, they like I said, formed in '91 in England. They've went through a couple of lineup changes. Before this album came out, they had like three other demos, and I think they got signed in '93. And then in January 31st, 1994, and 2 months before I was even born, this album came out. And boy, this is a strong album. A great way to start off their career, honestly. With the lineup on this album, which consists of vocalist Danny Filth, Paul Allender and Paul Ryan on the guitars, Robin Graves on bass, Benjamin Ryan on keyboards, and the great Nick Barker on the drums. And yep, let's dive into this track by track. Now the album opens up with the intro, "Darkness Our Bride," Jugular Wedding, which is a very interesting way. It kind of has a little bit of a keyboard intro and a bell melody. It kind of has a little bit of a creepy gothic vibe to it, and it's an interesting way to start off this album. And then we get to "The Prince of Evil Made Flesh," which is the title track, which kind of sounds very primitive, and some really great lyrics, and a really great guitar solo. It's one of my favorite songs off this album. I really like that. Then we get to "The Forest Whispers My Name." Now this song kind of starts off with a little bit of a slower piano part, and then after a while, it just punches you in the face, just with some sheer brutality. And just like Danny's screams on this song is just really insane, and just the riffs on this song is fucking bitchin'. Then we get to Iscariot, which is a little one of the few and three, two or three instrumentals. We're fucking up there. Yeah, it's a bit of a haunting vibe to it. It has some very good effect, a little bit of a sound effects and some strings to it. I mean, not much to say about that track. Then we get to "The Black Goddess Rises." It's this very mid-paced song. Kind of has has some good piano part in there, and it sort of has some references to some mythological and occult stuff, such as Gabrielle, Lilisk, and stuff. It's a very brutal song, one of my favorite songs off this album. I really like that a lot. Then we get to One Final Graven Kiss, which has another instrumental off this album. Has a bit of an atmospheric vibe to it. Has a very simple piano part, and it's just a really great piece, and it's a great song. Then we get to a crescendo of Passion Bleeding, which is just very raw. It's just very brutal. Just some very insane drumming from Nick, and it's just really like the interesting vocals from Danny. Like he goes from like the typical black metal type vocals to like death growls, even a bit of a clean type singing. I thought it was pretty interesting. Then we get to Eve, the Heart of Witchcraft, which is very catchy. It's just a very great little organ part in there, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And then we has some really great riffs in there. I think it's one of my favorite songs. Then we get to Of Mist and Midnight Skies. It's a very great song. It's just very mid-paced. What can I say about that? We get to In Secret Love We Drown, which is the third instrumental. It has a little bit slower, kind of where the album kind of like slows down a little bit. It's pretty interesting. Then we get to a Dream of Wolves in the Snow, which is some very great drumming on this song. It's just really chock full of great riffs. It's from Paul Allender and Paul Ryan. It's really great. And then we get to Summer Dying Fast, which is the closing track on this album. Just some insane drumming and some really great guitar riffs and some really great screams from Danny. And yeah, overall, Principle of Evil made Plush by Cradle of Filth is a damn strong way to start off their career. It's a very promising start to what they would have like 20, a little over 25 years later. If I were to give this album a score, I would probably give this like a solid 10 out of 10. I'm really impressed by this debut. It's a very strong way to start their career. So yeah, that's basically my review of the first Cradle of Filth album, guys. Let me know what you guys think. See you all the next review of which is Vampire, and keep it metal.